Hey everybody, so I've been using the iPhone 13 Pro since the day it came out, so that's like 6 months now. In an earlier video, I mentioned that it is hard for me to understand the value proposition of the Pro models this year. And that's because the regular phones are just that good. Because the internals on the iPhone 13 model are identical to what we have on the Pro models. But that is not to say that the screen on this phone is not impressive. Actually, good-looking displays on the market are just so ubiquitous these days that it is easy to forget that this display is in a class above most of them. For instance, when you open an image with a ton of colors on your phone, or you play a video that happens to be shot in HDR, you are reminded that if not for this notch, this might be the best display that you have in your entire household. The screen lights up with what seems brighter than flashes on some of the phones. The colors pop with all the saturation necessary to make everything seem lifelike, and all of that happens while the dark areas seem like dead pixels. And this bright HDR display is paired with, if not more, at least equally impressive battery life on the smaller 13 Pro models, at least in my experience. I usually end my days with enough battery life to keep it going for at least another half a day. And now that this phone can be unlocked while you're wearing a mask, this phone is finally ready for being taken outside in a post-pandemic world. On a side note, why did we let Apple get away with this for so long? It is literally the richest company in the world, and it took them so long to come up with a feature that the pandemic is almost over. It's almost amazing with what people will let Apple get away with. I mean, I bought a 13 Pro, so I can't blame anybody else, I guess. Anyways, let's talk about cameras, and not because there's any lack of conversation around these cameras, and rightly so, because these cameras are amazing. So someone who uses this camera almost every day, I'm using it right now. Despite the fact that I'm shooting myself on a Canon M50, I'm also recording myself on my iPhone 13 Pro. I am really impressed with the array of cameras available on the phones this year. There are 3 sensors on the Pro models this year, similar to what we have had for the last 2 years, and here are the specs for each one of them. Not that any of this matters, because the photos you take with these cameras speak for themselves. Take a look at these. Not only are they great in amazing lighting situation, the addition of night mode that turns on automatically makes the absence of light also make amazing pictures to look at. On the video side, almost all my YouTube videos use footage from this camera in one way or another. But that's just the main sensor. We got 2 more sensors on this phone. There is a 3x zoom camera that rarely ever comes on. In my opinion, this is not a great sensor. Even Apple knows not to switch to this sensor in anything but the perfect lighting situations. And not to say that it does not come in handy for portrait mode photos, because they also look amazing. And then we can talk about the most versatile camera on this phone, the ultra wide angle camera. This gives you the widest range if you want to capture a wide subject or a landscape shot. Some of my favorite images from this camera are ultra-wide panoramic shot that gives you a wide range of view in all directions and very unique style of photography. And if that's not what you are after, you can push this lens really close to something and take macro photos. There are people that have dismissed macro lenses on phones as a gimmick or something that you end up not using after a while, but that has not been my experience with this phone. I'm not only still using this feature, it is an amazing option to capture shots that are usually not seen with a human eye. And just to prove my point, here are the photos that I recently posted on my Instagram, and they were taken as a macro photo on the iPhone 13 Pro. I know that most people that review iPhones every year or they review phones every year, they have become desensitized to the fact that this iPhone has a lightning port. But as someone who uses a Galaxy Note 20 as his second phone, the absence of USB-C port is not only a shame, but also the most annoying aspect of this phone. This phone takes great videos, like amazing videos, but there is no way to transfer those videos from your phone to your PC without jumping through hoops or having connection issues that you cannot resolve. Moving on to the build quality, this is nothing special in a market oversaturated with glass-on-glass sandwich designs. But the frosty glass on the back makes it feel a lot better than the high gloss finish of the cheaper models. To be honest with you, as a mechanical engineer who makes products for a living, the finish on this glass shouldn't have costed iPhones a lot more, but iPhones have reserved this exclusive right to get frosted glass on the Pro models just for the sake of making it expensive. Speaking of design choices reserved for the expensive models, the sides on this phone are made with surgical grade stainless steel. For an electronic device that shouldn't see too much moisture or any extreme temperatures, The surgical grade stainless steel is completely useless and it's only here to increase the price. It is a vanity metric that nobody should actually care about, but Apple's making people care about it. All in all, you get a very premium looking phone that is more a jewel than an electronic device, and I'm not complaining about that because every time I hold this phone, it just feels so nice to hold it. Although I don't have the guts to carry this phone in my hands without a case outside of my house, but in the house, due to the sharp edges, I can use this phone without a case. And if it feels too slippery, I use that as a reminder to moisturize my hands. With all the conversations around pictures, cameras, display, and the build quality of this phone, how the size of the phone is, I think we don't recognize how this little phone is probably more powerful than most x86 computers on the market today. And it's probably almost as powerful as the M1 MacBooks, but we will never know. No matter how you slice it, it is a shame that you cannot turn this pocket computer into a workstation similar to what you can do with the Galaxy Note and Samsung DeX. The absence of USB-C on this phone is disappointing, but more than that, it is really sad that Apple has limited iOS to a tiny screen instead of letting their users use these little supercomputers for something more interesting than scrolling through Instagram. I mean, I haven't even touched on the phone sides of things, so let's talk about how does it perform as a phone, as if anybody cares about that. So the microphones on this phone are amazing. With iOS 15, we got the ability to select microphone profiles that makes it even better at making calls in environments that might not be suitable for traditional calls. With the new iPhone 13 models, you also got access to millimeter wave 5G connection. But in my experience at least, performance has not been the best when it comes to using mobile data. My A53, which costs less than half this phone cost, it gets better coverage and data speeds than this phone does. And so if you are out and about and internet connectivity really matters to you, I will make sure I test out all possible data situations that I'm gonna be in before the return window closes. So if you're watching this video on an iPhone 13 Pro, you should be watching that on 5G to see how your phone performs on a 5G connection. And to be honest with you, with all the limitations of iOS 15, this phone is only as good as iOS can be, which at the 15th iteration is stuffed with features, whether it is the most powerful shortcuts you can build that are drastically improved with this version, or some hidden features that you have to learn about if you are running iOS 15 on your iPhone. I'm not gonna say these are the videos that you have to watch, because I hate when YouTubers do that, but I recommend that you should check out these videos before you go check something else out, because these really cover something really important for you guys. Anyways, thank you for watching. This is Geet.